There's a flurry of news around how demand for housing in India has made a strong comeback in the last 6 months. Developers like Sobha have reported record sales bookings in the January to March 2021 quarter. Today on the Property Show, we cut through the hype and do a deep dive into longer-term trends to see how robust is this return of demand and how does it stack up against the inventory of residential real estate in India's top 14 cities. Our attempt is to give you some big trends and get experts to read into the future of the housing market. All so you can take better and more informed buy and sell decisions on real estate. Arvind Subramaniam, MD and CEO of Mahindra Lifespaces Developers Limited, joins us. Also with us, Sameer Jasuja, founder and CEO of Prop Equity, who's culled out the data, long-term 10-year trends, and Sharad Mittal, CEO of Motilal Oswal Real Estate Fund. I have a lot of data trends to talk about, but Arvind, let me ask you first up, last 6 months, how exciting has it been, or are you just relieved that some demand has returned?
Looking forward at the year when we started in April or May, and looking back at the year sitting this April, it almost feels like 2 different years. It feels like chalk and cheese. The last 6 months indeed has been a very, very sharp rebound, heartening in many ways, not just relief, but also I think the underlying trends point to a robust and deep demand going forward as well.
This, of course, notwithstanding that we are again in another sort of a very big pandemic attack. But let me also look at the big data. Now, sometimes 6 months isn't really enough to give you what's likely to happen going forward. So, Prop Equity has culled out this residential data of how housing has moved in India in the last decade, which is 2010 to 2020. Now, it's interesting to see that 2010 was actually the peak of India's residential market. New launches in the number of units were about 4.2 lakh units. By 2020, these had come down to 1.99 lakh units. That's a whopping drop of 53%. But thankfully, sales and absorption between this period did not drop as much. If I look at 2010, the sales were about 3.2 lakh units, and by 2020, these have come down to about 2.66 lakh units. So that's just a drop of 16%. Very quickly, I'm going to tell you region-wise which are the regions which did well, which didn't do well. Now, National Capital Region actually registered the worst decline with a 96% drop in unit launches between 2010 and 2020. Sales in NCR dropped by 82%, so pretty much in line. MMR, on the other side, has been a very steady market, or relatively steady, we can say. Annual sales have been steady around 100,000 units, which is 1 lakh since 2010, and new launches have dropped by 50%. Of course, Bangalore and the other markets like Pune, Hyderabad all lie in between these two. Now, the big question that I have, Sameer Jasuja, when I read this data that you've shared with us, and it's very interesting because it's been a decade, right? The drop of 14 top cities, new unit launches by almost 50%. Is that, should I read it as this being healthy or a worrying trend for India's housing market?
Well, it was a worrying trend till about a year ago. Now it doesn't seem that worrying at all because large number of sales have already happened with respect to this new launches that happened from 2010 onwards. We have a lot of execution that is left to be done with respect to these numbers. But as far as the offtake pickup has happened pretty steadily and smoothly, round about at 3 lakh units per year on a year-on-year basis, which is roughly what we also launch over the last 5 years. If you look at pricing, that's a different story altogether. The 80% of the price appreciation happened in the first 4 years, and the last 6 years we've seen hardly any price appreciation.
Let me look at the price trends then. Since 2010, and this is again the long-term trend culled out by Prop Equity, prices of new launches have increased by about 5% compounded annually CAGR. Hyderabad has seen the healthiest price increase of 7%, and Navi Mumbai has seen the worst price increase of 3%. Sharad, let me come to you. One is that, okay, now you have less launches, so there is not that much of oversupply left in the market. But the other point is that, housing market, if I had bought something 10 years ago, essentially whatever I got was in the first 4 years, and since then I've probably not even matched inflation. Does this confirm the belief that if people are looking at buying, it should only be for self-use and not as an investment?
So Manisha, I call the last decade as the lost decade for real estate. And you are absolutely right. Whatever gains that you are mentioning between 2010 and 20 are largely came between 2010 and 14. So 2 points here. First, on the new launches, I think as an industry, we are better off that the new launches are going down. I would say the RERA has also played a role in that. There is still fair bit of inventory overhang, especially in Delhi and Bombay. Rest of the markets, the inventory overhang has been coming down, largely the IT cities. As far as the home purchase is concerned, if you look at over a long period of time, residential properties have given returns anything between 12 to 14%. A large part of it used to come through capital gains. Rental yields are really low in India. What happened between 2002 and 21 is that bulk of those capital gain or the appreciation came in the between 2002 and 12, almost CAGR of upward of 25%. So what we are seeing right now is normalization. Expectations needs to be muted when somebody is buying a residential house. And I would say 10 to 12% over a period of next 10 years, including the rental yields, would be a very fair expectation.
10 to 12%. Arvind, would you put that bet? Because if I just look at the last decade, I mean, there's just such disenchantment with real estate as an investment asset. I mean, I'm still not talking about it as a house to live in because that's something everybody should have. But what's your take on that?
I'll pick up on what you just said. My view is that we as a fraternity of developers have done ourselves a disservice by trying to equate homes with other financial asset classes. Yes, it does have certain financial investment characteristics to it, but I think we'd be better served by looking at homes as a 30-year consumption product rather than a substitute for a mutual fund investment or an equity investment. Because a home does so much more than just provide you financial returns. It is a store of value. Even if I were to just look at the financial aspects of it, it's a store of value. It de-risks you. It gives you credit worthiness, gives you a lot more security in life. And then there are all the non-financial multipliers in terms of standard of living, quality of life, access to better education for children, better amenities, better health. So, one has to look at this category with a very different lens from what we've looked at it in the past. And therefore, honestly, the 10-12% CAGR forecast, whether it happens or not, we need to develop business models that are in some ways insulated from that dependency.
Fair enough. Sameer, your point of view in terms of, for the longest time, I remember doing a personal finance show and we used to actually recommend, planners used to recommend having a second house as an inflation hedged regular income asset class. But looking at the last 10 years, it doesn't seem that that should be the motive to buy a home. It should really be your lifestyle and the other things of security, safety, your children's education and how you want to live, as Arvind just mapped out.
Well, my view is also that we are started to witness green shoots in appreciation, especially in the north region with respect to plotted development. And we were anticipating that price appreciation will start to kick in about 2 years from now. It started a little earlier, especially with the plotted development, and it will follow suit with the apartment condominium complexes as well. So we think that real estate as an asset class for investment is going to come back pretty fast. If not this year, I would say a year to 2 years from now, definitely anybody who invests in real estate will start to see good handsome gains in terms of capital appreciation. We anticipate that there are only about 62,000 units that have to be completed in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years from now, whereas average is about 3 lakh units, and that is going to bump up the price points quite substantially in the gated community living as such.
All right. So, Sameer, I'm going to read out that data you just said. So what Sameer has pointed out to is that the annual consumption or the demand for housing in top 14 cities in India is about 3 lakh units. But now let's look at the unsold inventory and why we believe, or at least the data shows, that the market could finally be turning healthy and you could actually see better price appreciation in the coming days. Unsold inventory overhang in the top 14 cities is down to 25 months. That is close to a healthy limit of 20 to 24 months. That's what we've been saying, that if it's more than 24 months, you have to worry. And like rightly pointed out by Arvind, that you have very little inventory left, and also by Sharad, that in the IT cities, maybe NCR still has a larger inventory overhang, and there we have actually Sameer talking about the fact that the prices have started moving in NCR market. Having said that, Pune has the healthiest unsold inventory of 17 months. So, big question then, Sameer. I mean, if NCR, and we all know that inventory overhang, Sharad's also pointed out, is the worst in NCR, then why is this price rise happening? I mean, again, is it just an investor market which is going to overinflate even before the fundamentals fall into place?
That's a very good question and a big worry on our part as well, that we witnessed 40% price rise in the plotted development. Now, partly it could be because of COVID and people wanting plots to build their own houses, to be able to have much larger spaces and have more greener areas to themselves. But really, it's anybody's guess. But the investors are clearly back in the market, especially in the plotted segment. It could also be parking of some cash, which is typically what happens with purchases in plots.
So investors are back. We got to see it. In fact, I think that's probably the reason why Haryana government has raised the circle rates, but that's another discussion. Let's take a look at the data that you mentioned, forward-looking data which shows committed delivery of new projects in the next 4 years, which now shows is declining sharply. Now in 2021, 7.1 lakh units will be delivered, and 74% of these are already sold out. By 2024, guess what? All the developers have only so far committed to units which will be delivered will be about 65,500 units, and 43% of them are already sold out. And that is the reason why Sameer believes that prices will start rising again. Arvind, these numbers must be music to a developer like you, that committed delivery is so little right now that you can go ahead, aggressively look at great land parcels and launch projects.
Those are very intriguing numbers, and if one were to try and explain them, I think it's partly driven by the fact, as you said, there's been a 50% drop in new launches in the last few years, and particularly the last year in calendar 2020. There were very few new launches that were happening just because physically it was not possible to orchestrate a new project launch. And the typical 3 to 5 year cycle of real estate development plays itself out, and therefore, as you were saying, in 2024 there doesn't seem to be much stock which is primed for delivery. I expect that will correct itself. I do see a lot more activity both on the land buying side as well as new project launch side coming our way in the next few quarters, the current wave of the pandemic notwithstanding. So we'll probably see a dip in 24, but then back to some sort of a normal trend 25 onwards. Is my expectation. But as a broader macro trend, as you said, yes, certainly this seems a far more rational market. The earlier greed, both on the demand side and supply side, it was almost like we were running a lottery. And 8 or 10 years back, anyone could launch a project as long as he had the land, and he would find buyers, and buyers were expecting that they could flip the property with a 20% appreciation within 12 months or 18 months. Neither of which is reality anymore. So there's more rational behavior.
Fair enough. Sharad Mittal, last decade, but do you think, looking at the data which is coming up, and really there seems to be some amount of pent-up demand and fence sitters coming back into the market, realizing the value of a home and having your own space in the pandemic, do you think that the next 5 years could be the big turnaround in residential real estate?
So Manisha, I was always one of the more cautious one over a period of last 7-8 years. But I agree with what Sameer is saying and the data that he's put out. Couple of things here. One, inventory overhang. Look at IT cities. Delhi NCR has a long way to go. So is Mumbai. But Delhi NCR inventory overhang is now closer to between 15 to 24 months, depending on city to city. I remember at the peak of the last cycle, which is 2006-07, if I remember it right, inventory overhang used to be between 10 to 12 months. Some of these cities probably could reach an extremely healthy inventory overhang of 12 to 15 months over a period of next 2 years. So I'm not making a case for property prices to go up in a jiffy, but structurally, and the macro data suggests that over a period of next 5 years, this would happen. The other factors which are playing out for this kind of sales to happen, which have added to the entire impetus of people coming out and buying. First is mortgage rates. That is one big driver. Second is affordability. I remember we used to speak earlier, and you have taken it up a number of times, how property prices are not affordable, why property prices are not dropping. Except part of Delhi and Bombay and Gurgaon, rest of the markets are very affordable. Property prices have been stagnated for almost 8 years. And if I take inflation adjusted, property prices are probably 2007-8. So all these drivers are in place. Couple of things that we have to take care. One is I would put interest rate, low mortgage rates as a 50% weightage for the kind of sales that have taken place. Second is work from home. This second wave which has come in, and probably what we are seeing globally, there are third and fourth wave. This is also adding for people's need to buy a house of their own. Third, I believe, is lack of investing opportunities. Equity markets at all-time high. Gold till a month back was all-time high. Debt returns have collapsed. Some bit of reallocations will also take place. But largely, right now, whosoever is buying is end user, and one has to have patience. Probably magic will not happen in next 2 years. But if somebody forms a 5-7 year view, I have no doubt in my mind that the property prices will start inching up.
All right, so you're saying if you have some patience, then probably this is one asset class. Now is the time to start looking at it again. We'll come back and take a look at another very interesting data point, and that one is what's happening to the market consolidation. The number of developers or branded developers between 2010 and 2020 have dropped dramatically. What does this mean for you, the buyer and seller? We all know India's residential real estate market has gone through a turbulent phase. In fact, as Sharad Mittal from Motilal Oswal just said, that it's been a lost decade. Maths went wrong, demand nosedive, many cash-strapped developers actually had to wrap out their business or tie up with larger branded developers. But what is the number? So we keep talking about this consolidation. Let's give you the number. Prop equity data shows that more than 60% of developers have withdrawn from business or tied up with large developers in Gurugram, Noida and Chennai. And if you look at the Mumbai region, there more than 50% developers have withdrawn from business or tied up with larger developers in Mumbai and also in Bengaluru, which of course is considered to be a more robust market. But there too, you've had a lot of casualties. Very quickly, Sharad, what do you make of it? I mean, first of all, consolidation isn't over. I think there's a lot more left. And what does this mean for the home buyer?
So, Manisha, it all started with when RERA got implemented in May 2017. Structurally, for the developers who are not able to, the goalpost has moved from buying up lands and getting approvals to delivering the projects within a given timeline, quality and price. A lot of the developers would not be able to make a shift. And that led to the consolidation. And then the NBFC crisis took place. One key data that I'll give you is that it's a capital guzzling business. And the cost of capital difference between a branded developer or a corporate developer versus a mid-sized developer is now at its peak. Corporate developers probably will be buying in between 7 to 9%, and some of these tier 2 developers are borrowing at closer to 20%. They cannot survive this cycle, continue like this. So from a consumer perspective, whatever trends that we are seeing in last 6 months also, consumer are buying only two kinds of properties. Properties which are completed or near completed, then they're under construction, they are going to the trusted names. And I think that is going to continue. Only thing is the market is so fragmented that is going to take longer period for complete consolidation. Every city, I believe, will have 25-30 large developer, which will control a large part of the market.
Sameer, you had a number that the percentage of business which has now moved into the hands of the large branded developers. Do you see that number getting concentrated further going forward?
Yeah, we are up from about 7 to 8% to 15% of the total number of units that get launched in any city are by the top 25 developers of that city. Although their number drops when it comes to total number of projects, we definitely do believe that a large part of consolidation has happened. But going forward, there is still more to go. Lack of liquidity at the hand of the developer at the NBFC is the prime reason for that, and lack of faith by the consumer on Category B developers not being able to execute their past projects, so not willing to take any chances with going forward, even though RERA has come. It's clearly separated the men from the boys, and branded developers are going to make a huge benefit, would like have a huge benefit.
All right,
both
let
in terms
me
of
then ask the
commanding
branded
sale
developer
prices.
who's with us. Can I see that smile getting bigger, Arvind? I mean, seriously, things have turned around, and how good is it, and how are you looking at your own growth and expansion in the coming 5 years?
Yeah, well, on a lighter note, I've never believed in horoscopes, but I would like to engage both Sameer on my panel of astrologers. I wish their prognosis comes true. Yeah, I have two comments on consolidation. One is consolidation is actually playing out in different spheres. There are at least three different forces of consolidation playing out. One is on the demand side. As Sharad pointed out, customers are voting with their feet, choosing either a ready property, which is where there's no risk, or if it's under construction, it has to be with somebody who has a track record of delivery. The second area of consolidation is land. Landowners are now starting to prefer to deal with the organized sector, the formalized developers, because they see surety that their land will actually, the transaction will get completed and the land and the project will get launched. And the third is credit. Look, as again Shahid pointed out, there's a big gap between both availability and cost of credit between the formal sector and the less formal sector in this. So in some ways, we're in a perfect storm. That being said, I do want to caution that it would be too simplistic to think of this as a big versus small, that the big will get better and the small will die away. I think there are lots of very good small developers who are well managed, who know their business, who are local champions in a small micro market and are doing great work. So it's more about how well are you managed and how good is your balance sheet rather than whether you're large or small.
All right, that's a very interesting point, and thanks for bringing that up. I have to wrap out now. Thank you, Arvind Subramaniam, Sharad Mittal, and Sameer Jasuja for joining me, and thank you for the data that you shared with us, Sameer. And to all of you, I hope you enjoyed it. Top Trends. Hopefully, this will help you make better decisions when buying real estate. Goodbye.